How to survive an earthquake. Maybe a seismic protection bed can help. It was invented by the Russian inventor Gakhir Semenov. On the outside, this sturdy metal structure looks like an ordinary bed. In the event of an earthquake, its sleeping area automatically opens up. The person falls inside and then a lid automatically closes over them. Inside the sarcophagus, there is a respirator, medical supplies, as well as enough food and water to wait for help. But whether such a bed will save your life or become an elite sarcophagus is still an open question. How do you survive when the ground vanishes and you're trapped under tons of concrete and iron? Is it possible to survive in a stone trap without water, without food, unable to move, when the air temperature is just above freezing? An incredible rescue story spread around the world in 2014, when in China, a man was saved who had lived underground for 17 years after a mine collapse. In 1997, due to a 7.8 magnitude earthquake, large sections of mine tunnels and 118 people died under the rubble. And after this incident, the mine was closed for a long time. 17 years later, it was decided to resume mining operations. The miners were incredibly surprised when they opened a gallery in the old section of the mine and found a living person there. It was a 59-year-old miner, Chang Wei. He was in very poor condition and was immediately taken to a clinic for a physical and mental evaluation. He survived so long under the rubble because the ventilation shaft stayed intact, and there was emergency rice and water in the collapsed mine. The man diversified his diet with rats as well as moss, which became his only source of vitamins. This case set the record for the longest time anyone spent underground. But to be fair, this case also raises questions, since there isn't much evidence. And here is a documented story. On August 5, 2010, a rock collapse trapped 33 miners 700 meters underground at Chile's San Jose mine. The first thing they tried was to get into the collapsed mine through the ventilation system, but it was also blocked. And when they tried to clear the debris, new collapses occurred. After 17 days, a new vertical shaft was drilled to the miners' shelter, and along with the drill that was brought back to the surface, the miners sent up a note. In this photo, the president of Chile, Sebastián Piñera, is holding that very note, which says, "We are well and in the shelter. There are 33 of us." The operation to rescue the 33 Chilean miners is unprecedented in the world. From August to October, drilling was carried out to create a shaft wide enough for the rescue capsule to pass through. Meanwhile, the Phoenix capsule was being designed by Chilean engineers, together with National Aeronautics and Space Administration engineers. The rescue operation began on the evening of October 12, and by the next evening, the last miner was brought up from the mine. An amazing incident happened to Nadezhda Sushko. She spent almost a whole day under the rubble after the earthquake that wiped out the village of Neftegorsk in the Sakhalin region 18 years ago. The earthquake in Neftegorsk had a magnitude of 7. It measured 6 on the Richter scale and happened at night on Sunday, May 28, 1995. It completely destroyed the settlement. In just 17 seconds, more than 500 people were rescued alive from the rubble, while 1,958 people died. Out of the 3,000 people living in Neftegorsk, it was decided not to rebuild the settlement. There is now a memorial there for those who died. Nadezhda Sushko was 22 when she miraculously survived the earthquake, which was as strong as the disaster in Turkey. Here's how she described that earthquake in an interview. "In the apartment where I was, there were 7 people, and I was the only one who survived. It's terrifying, just terrifying. At first I thought the building exploded from gas, not realizing it was an earthquake. At that moment, I was taking a shower, reached for a towel, and heard a rumble. I looked up and saw cracks on the ceiling. The light stayed on a few more seconds. I crouched in the bathtub, then everything pulled me down and quickly collapsed." Nadezhda also talked about her experience being trapped under the rubble. "When everything collapsed, there was silence for maybe a minute, and then the screams started, moaning, 'Save us! Help us!' It was hell. Honestly, I had some kind of crack nearby. Someone looked through it and said, 'Hold on.' A lot of people were trapped by this earthquake. Then there were aftershocks. At first, I sat upright in the bathtub, but after the aftershocks, the slab pressed down harder and reached my head. It was very cold. The bathtub was dry, and I was extremely thirsty. I blacked out, and when I woke up, I yelled, "Help! I don't want to die!" I was naked, and the arm I reached for the towel with got stuck behind the bathtub and was nearly torn off. When asked who eventually got her out, Nadezhda replied, "There were no rescuers yet, as far as I understand. The first people to help were from the nearby villages. There was a crane nearby, and they started clearing the debris with its help. I was trapped there for 16 hours. When it was over, I was sent to the city of Akka, then airlifted to Khabarovsk, where I stayed in the hospital for half a year. My arm was amputated after doctors tried unsuccessfully for 2 weeks to save it. That's why I only have one arm now. The first 3 years were extremely traumatic for me psychologically. Everything felt like a blur. But in 1999, my son was born, and life started anew. Since 2005, I've taught geography at a school in Khabarovsk. Despite everything, life turned out well. And now, let's see who is performing heroic rescues of people from under the rubble in Turkey and Syria. On February 6, a series of powerful earthquakes struck Turkey, and hundreds of thousands of people were affected. Rescuers and volunteers who came to help Turkey from different countries around the world continue to clear the rubble and find survivors among the piles of debris. Work is progressing quickly, and with a bit more effort, someone's life could be saved. In this footage, rescuers are pulling a woman out from under the rubble 11 days after the earthquake. Another story. 3-year-old Yavuz endured 156 hours in hell. His mother and brother died, but Turkish rescuers heard his cries and reached him in time. The Ministry of Emergency Situations staff themselves call his rescue a real miracle. Statistics show there's only a 6% survival rate after 4 days trapped under rubble. No one calculated what happens next. That's why even the rescuers are surprised. A 3-year-old boy was truly born under a lucky star, and his namesake, 8-year-old Yavuz Turkmen, was rescued from the ruins of a multi-story building in Hatay province. The boy was rescued 91 hours after the earthquake. Dozens of concerned residents watched the operation unfold. When they saw that the child had survived, they greeted the volunteers and rescuers with loud applause. On February 12, rescuers miraculously found a 7-month-old baby beneath concrete slabs. He spent almost 130 hours alone in the dark and cold. It seemed there wasn't a single chance for survival. But the emergency workers found him just in time, having heard a faint cry. When the baby was brought to the surface, he was no longer crying and showed no signs of life. However, the doctors still managed to revive him and feed him. Soon after, incredible footage spread online. The rescued baby is doing well and smiling, just as selflessly. In this difficult and noble work, rescuers are assisted by 4-legged helpers. Rescue dogs come to the rescue where human abilities may be somewhat limited. For example, dogs have an impeccable sense of smell, which helps them quickly find victims and alert people about it. Based on their own experience, specialists from canine and rescue services claim that by showing fearlessness and bravery, dogs often even sacrifice themselves to save human lives. Another proof of the truth of this statement is the examples of the service of rescue dogs in Turkey. In Malatya, a rescue dog named Sila was involved in the round-the-clock operations of the search and rescue team of the Turkish Armed Forces. Sila, age 7, searches for people in the rubble. From the very first hours after the earthquake, she has already saved 12 people and continues to serve in the disaster zone. The dog named Poyraz helped save 2 children thanks to her sharp sense of smell. Poyraz is able to distinguish a living person from a dead one. This dog is trained to work in earthquake, avalanche, and landslide areas. Now Poyraz is working in Malatya together with instructors from the Van Directorate for Emergency Prevention and Response. 85 hours after the collapse of a 7-story building in Hayat Sitosi, this dog rescued 2 children, aged 14 and 16, and a foreigner from under the rubble. Poyraz and I work tirelessly day and night, and rescuing people alive brings us joy. Poyraz is a skilled, experienced search dog who has already found and helped save 3 people. Every life we save is a source of strength and energy for us, said rescuer Neftegorsk. Unfortunately, during the search under the rubble of buildings in Kahramanmaraş, a search dog named Proteo died. The dog flew to Turkey from Mexico with a team of rescuers who went to help their Turkish colleagues after the earthquake. We are deeply saddened by the loss of our wonderful colleague, the dog Proteo, said the statement from the Ministry of Defense of Mexico. You honored your duty with the Mexican search and rescue team helping our brothers in Turkey. Thank you for your heroic efforts. Rescue dogs arrived from all over the world, from Mexico, the United States, Germany, Hungary, Switzerland, and many other countries. 3 search dogs came to Turkey as part of the rescue team from South Korea. 6-year-old Tobak, 4-year-old Hayate, and 6-year-old Tori helped find and rescue 3 children. During the rescue operations, they injured their paws by cutting themselves on sharp stones and debris from the metal frames of collapsed buildings. After receiving treatment right in the field, the dogs continued to work with their paws bandaged. We trained these dogs to save people for 2 years, says rescuer Kim. They can get into the narrowest spaces between the debris and bark as soon as they smell a person. On injured paws, he keeps searching for people under the rubble. In Malatya, a dog named Kopyuk had his paws injured during rescue operations. Despite this, he continues to serve. A dog named Torin, who came to Kahramanmaraş with rescuers from Bashkortostan, found 2 people. On the 3rd day after the earthquake, during search and rescue operations in Kahramanmaraş, a team of Bashkir specialists rescued 5 earthquake victims, 2 of whom were found by Torin. And this little dog named Venus helped save her owner from under the rubble of a 6-story residential building in the Antakya district of Hatay, 103 hours after the earthquake. When she heard the rescuers ask, "Is anyone here? A dog?" she barked loudly. The rescuers, who rushed to the sound, managed to free a 35-year-old woman named Duygu from under the rubble. The injured search dog named Lezet was hurt while trying to pull a person out from under the rubble of a collapsed building. The medical team immediately rushed to help the heroic dog. Here are more moving photos of 4-legged rescuers saving people from rubble, which have generated an incredible response on social media. All of this is just a small part of the symbolic facts, proving how important a role 4-legged heroes play in saving people. That's all for today. See you in the next videos.